Raise your hands if you have done a Google search already today. We bet more than 90% of you are raising your hands right now. That's just proof of how big Google has grown to become. This wasn't how it all started. In fact, there was a different company that was positioned to be the king of the internet. Much like Google is right now, we're talking about Yahoo. A good number of you haven't even seen the Yahoo homepage or used it to search for anything online. So yeah, we get that this may be hard to believe. Fortune magazine announced in 1998 that Yahoo had won the search wars, but it looked like they declared victory a little too soon. So what went wrong? You're in luck, because we're about to tell you all about the fall of Yahoo, starting from the top. How it all began. The year was 1994. Jerry Yang and David Filo were both working on their PhD in electrical engineering at Stanford. While Jerry was born in Taiwan and moved to the United States with his family when he was 10 years old, David was born in the United States. However, they eventually met in the same place. It wasn't long before they became very good friends, especially as they shared a hobby: exploring the internet. When we say exploring the internet, it's not quite the same now as it was in 1994. Then there was no Google or any popular search engine for that matter. It was really difficult to get around as the internet was one big disorganized mess. Jerry and David knew this. This was what gave birth to the idea of starting a website that could include all their favorite websites. The plan wasn't to revolutionize the internet, but to make an impressive directory that would make it easier to move around. And this worked. These smart men put in categories and subcategories that became the popular way to navigate the web. At first, it was called David and Jerry's Guide to the World Wide Web. We're sure you can already see what's wrong with this name. Thankfully, they changed it a few months later to Yahoo. But what does it really stand for? Some say it means yet another hierarchical officious oracle. We can't say for sure, but this is way too complex as a meaning. Still, the name Yahoo had a nice ring to it and started attracting a lot of attention. After the first year, more than 150,000 people were visiting Yahoo every day, and there was no going back now. As of 1997, there were just a little more than 70 million people using the internet, compared to billions using it today. And about 40 million of these were visiting Yahoo monthly. It became much bigger than AOL and Netscape, two other big players at the time. Things were going pretty well for the young billionaires, but at that moment, their biggest competitor yet was about to come to life: the birth of Google. While Jerry and David were breathing life into Yahoo, two other PhD students at the same university were working on something big as well. Larry Page and Sergey Brin had a research project involving a web crawler. This was a tool that identified hyperlinks in web pages, collected large amounts of data, and then turned it into something useful. Larry and Sergey were able to make this amazing by developing the PageRank algorithm. So when you search for any word, you would see pages that are highly ranked based on their level of importance. It was an absolutely fantastic idea, but the duo wasn't making any money from it. They felt it was time to earn some income from this invention while continuing with their studies. So the agreement was to license it out to tech companies. This was when Yahoo received its first offer to buy Google. They were ready to sell the license to Yahoo for $1 million. But we all know how that went. Instead, David advised them to launch the website themselves. He introduced them to investors, and September 1998 marked the official incorporation of Google. With this move, they were officially in business. Just 3 months later, Google had more than 10,000 daily searches until it grew into millions of daily searches. The growth of this company was nothing short of incredible. It was mostly through word of mouth. Now people knew where to go when they wanted to find something. Of course, it helped that Google had this simple, clean interface that was a breath of fresh air compared to how other pages were infested with numerous ads. While Google was processing more than 3 million searches in a day just a year later, Yahoo, on the other hand, was also growing through other means. But things were about to go horribly wrong for the company, becoming the world's most popular website. Yahoo was growing and growing really fast, but the owners weren't prepared for this. You can imagine how stressful this situation was for two PhD students who knew every single thing about computers and electrical engineering, but not a thing about running a business. So they did the next best thing. While trying to perfect their directory and turn it into a money-making business, Jerry and David both dropped out of their programs. Then, they hired Tim Kugel, an experienced executive for Motorola, to become their first CEO. As you will later find out, he was the first of many. But let's get back to the story. Tim's job was simple: handle the business side of things. Internet advertising was a major focus of the company, and they got investors to raise about $1 million to run the company, as Yahoo was free to use. This worked out well. The businesses started paying Yahoo to place ads on their site, And 2 years later, everything was in place. Yahoo had its directory, ad revenue, and competent management team. The next big step was a public stock offering, which they did in April of 1996. The market valued them at more than $200 million after a day of trading, and stock prices were rising too. Their televised commercial began rolling out, spreading the Yahoo message far and wide. With this, they became the most popular website in the world in 2001 and remained there for about 5 years. But things started to change after 2008. You would think that there was nowhere else to go but up, right? Wrong. The journey to the bottom. Back in 2008, Yahoo made its peak revenue of $7.2 billion. It was also the same year that Microsoft made the famous offer of $44.6 billion to acquire Yahoo. Of course, they turned it down. If they had taken it, this would have been the biggest acquisition ever. But Yahoo wasn't interested in this. Safe to say that this was their worst decision ever in a long list of bad decisions. Here's why. Yahoo was a portal where you could go to different websites from the Yahoo page. All over this homepage, you would see different things to click on. So they decided that the best way to grow was to own these different places. So if you wanted to shop from the Yahoo homepage, click the shopping icon, and it would take you to the front page for Yahoo Shopping. Need some stock information? Yahoo Finance would be right there. The target was to give Yahoo users a full internet experience right within the confines of the website. So instead of building from scratch, they built their collection of services by acquiring companies that already provided them. It was just simpler, but they just couldn't have a real focus anymore. Yahoo became a blend of several internet companies in different directions. It worked great when they acquired 411 for $95 million. This company had existing email capabilities, and they used this to establish the famous Yahoo Mail. But this didn't work so great all the time. A good example of this is Broadcast.com. Ever heard of this company? Exactly. Yahoo bought this internet radio company for $5.7 billion in 1999. To be honest, the only person who won in this deal is Mark Cuban. Yahoo didn't do much with it, and Broadcast.com was shut down a few years later. Something similar happened with Tumblr. Yahoo bought this microblogging website in 2013 as a feeble attempt at launching into the social media space. This venture cost more than $1 billion and crumbled. While these acquisitions were going on, Yahoo turned down deals that could have changed everything. They had several opportunities to own Google, including the $3 billion deal in 2002, which they refused. Then they could have been an integral part of Facebook, with about $1 billion in 2005. They took the offer lower, and that was the end of that discussion. Remember that Microsoft deal they rejected? Well, they agreed to Verizon's offer of $4.48 billion to buy Yahoo in 2017. And that's how you go from saying no to $45 billion to shaking hands over $5 billion. Apart from their poor selection of acquisition targets, this was complicated by their continuously changing leadership structure. All these contributed to the fall of Yahoo. The Google takeover. On the other end of the spectrum, Google continued down a single path with a focus on improving overall user experience and their algorithm. They tapped into the smartphone era and used their services to encourage business practices. By 2012, they were cracking down on websites with poor and plagiarized content. With this, they were able to take over Yahoo's share of the search engine market and become the giant we know them as today. While Yahoo switched CEOs a whopping 6 times between 1994 and 2016, Google made fewer leadership changes and kept to their earlier mission statement. That's how Yahoo went from being a tech giant to a regular service provider. And that's a wrap. Were you a Yahoo user? What are your thoughts on the growth and decline of this company? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.